Thank you very much for listening to this week's talk on the Sedra of Bo. And we are also celebrating the Rosh Chodesh, the first day of the new month of Shvat. And we dedicate this learning to the speedy and safe release of all of the hostages as we echo the words that Moshe Rabbeinu has been saying over the past weeks and the Sedras that we have been reading. Let my people go. Let that be the phrase, let that echo around the world, all the way up to Shamayim. And please God, all of the hostages should go free immediately and unconditionally. And we also pray for the safety and success of all of the soldiers in the IDF as they continue their heroic missions to protect, with God's help, the land of Israel and the people of Israel. And as we contemplate the month of Shvat, we can see that this month is a month of renewal. And this echoes the theme of Rosh Chodesh. And this is in the Sedra of Bo, we read about the first mitzvah that applied to Bnei Yisrael as a nation, and that is the month of sanctifying the new moon. So to celebrate Rosh Chodesh in close proximity to reading about it in the Sedra is something that is very relevant and very appropriate. And the month of Shvat is associated with Tu B'Shvat, the 15th day of Shvat, which is the sort of the beginning when the sap begins to rise in the tree, and it's considered the Rosh Hashanah, the first day of the new year for the trees. And it, even though it doesn't feel like it, and this year it's fairly early, but it is a symbol of spring, a symbol of renewal, and a symbol of hope. And this is something that we certainly tap into. And please God, we can continue to pray for so much that we don't understand, and that includes the miracle of spring, the miracle each year that we are privileged to witness, the new leaves, the new buds, the signs of the first signs of spring. And we can, please God, see that as Hashem's mastery and control of the world. And please God, we should see the renewal of our people after a very challenging period. And all our prayers should be answered as we go into this month of Shvat. So the second mitzvah that applies to Bnei Israel that we read about in this week's Sedra is the mitzvah of shechting, of slaughtering the Paschal lamb, the Korban Pesach. And we learn a concept from this mitzvah, and that is the concept of shlichut, of being able to appoint someone who can carry out a particular action, and then that person, it is considered as if you have done it yourself. And we see this in chapter 12, verse 6. והיה לכם למשמרת עד 14 יום לחודש הזה, and you should hold it for inspection until the 14th day of this month. This is referring to the Paschal lamb, which had to be observed for 3 days prior to the day on which it was offered. Yom lachodesh v'shachatu oso kol kahal adas Yisrael, and the entire congregation of the community of Israel shall have it slaughtered ben ha'arbaim in the afternoon. And Rashi comments on this, v'shachatu oso v'gomer, v'chi cholon shachtin, and did all of them slaughter this sacrifice? Did the entire congregation, each individual, bring their own korban, their own offering? Kahal v'adas Yisrael, mikan, from here, v'chi cholon shachtin, ela mikan sheshlucho shel Adam Kamoso. From here we learn that an emissary of a person is considered as if the person themselves have carried out this particular action. And this has very important halachic ramifications, for example, in laws of marriage, in laws of divorce, so somebody can send an emissary on their behalf. And the question we would ask, and we would ask it for whatever was chosen to be the original instance in which it seems that this was happening, that somebody was appointed on another's behalf, is why is it with this Korban Pesach, with this Paschal lamb, that we use that as the model for this idea that we can appoint somebody in our stead. And I think we can find the original Shaliach that Hashem appoints in a very direct manner, and he is a very unwilling at the outset. He is a very unwilling Shaliach, and that is Moshe Rabbeinu. And when Hashem comes to him at the burning bush and says, "You will go to Paro and you will entreat him to let the Jewish people go," Moshe Rabbeinu suggests all sorts of reasons why actually he is not the man for the job. And Hashem says, "No, you will go and every problem can be worked out." Moshe Rabbeinu is concerned about a speech impediment. Hashem suggests that Aaron is going to be his spokesperson. Moshe Rabbeinu says, "Mi onochi." Perhaps self-esteem is something that he is lacking at that point. He doesn't feel worthy of the task. He doesn't feel sufficiently endowed. And really, we have to see in this dialogue, in this appointment by Hashem of Moshe Rabbeinu as his emissary, that Hashem knows who Moshe Rabbeinu is. Hashem is very aware of any strengths that he has and any areas that are not so strong. But clearly Hashem is choosing Moshe Rabbeinu. And in this concept, we can look at ourselves and we can say that we are all, without belonging to any particular group that sends out emissaries, that seems to, which has really mobilized the whole concept of shluchim, of emissaries, which is a very wonderful concept, and it's something that we should all translate and bring into our lives, to see ourselves as shluchim of Hashem. And whatever situation we find ourselves, that we will ask Hashem, ask ourselves, how can I be an emissary of Hashem in this situation? How can I, through the values of the Torah, the words of the Torah, make this world a better place? And this is something that we are able to absorb from the fact that we learn about this for Korban Pesach. There is an interesting limitation in a way, because Moshe Rabbeinu is the Shaliach, is the emissary, together with Aaron, for the first 9 plagues. And it is stated very clearly for the 10th and final plague of Makas Bechoros, of the smiting of the firstborn, that Hashem is carrying them out by himself. And this is something that is made very clear in the Haggadah, and that actually draws so heavily from all of the Sedras that we're learning now. So this can be the real Pesach preparation that we're doing in advance of the physical cleaning and cooking, etc. But we read in the Haggadah, "Vayotzienu Hashem miMitzrayim," and Hashem brought us out of Egypt, "Lo al yedei malach," not through the hands of an angel, "Velo al yedei soraf," and not through the hands of a fiery angel or a seraph, "Velo al yedei shaliach," and not through a messenger or an emissary, "Ela HaKadosh Baruch Hu bichvodo uve'atzmo," but the Holy One, blessed be He, in His glory and by Himself. And so we see that although Moshe Rabbeinu is appointed as a shliach, his appointment has that limit, and we can understand that Moshe Rabbeinu's life's mission is to be a servant of Hashem. And it's interesting to note that we talk about Paro, we talk about the Eser Makos and the Bnei Yisrael and the all of the events that we're reading about in the Sedras of Shmos, Va'era, Bo, Shalach, and in this entire narrative, in the Maggid section of the Haggadah, Moshe Rabbeinu's name is mentioned once and once only. And this is when we read Vayaminu Bahashem over Moshe Avdo. And they believe, this is what we say in the Pesukim before the Song of the Sea, Shirat Hayam. We read that the people believed in Hashem and in Moshe, his servant. And this is something that Moshe Rabbeinu is really, with his deep and sincere humility, as he's described as Onov Mikol Odom, the most humble of all people. And in that humility, for him not to be mentioned except for this one occasion in the Haggadah is something I can imagine that would give him much nachas, because if there is no greater compliment that we can give Moshe Rabbeinu than to be the servant of Hashem, and that the people should believe in Hashem, and he somehow had a share in that emunah of the people. And this is something that we can draw inspiration from Moshe Rabbeinu. We can look at this concept of shlichut, of appointing someone to carry out something for us, and we can see ourselves as shlichim of Hashem, as messengers and emissaries of Hashem, as we try to effect change in this world and make it a better place. And please God, we should merit that with all of the hope that we feel as we look at the Rosh Chodesh, we look at Rosh Chodesh of Shvat, we read the miraculous exodus from Egypt in this week's Sedra of all of the Bnei Yisrael. And at this point, as they do what all of the commandments of the Torah, in terms of taking the Korban Pesach, making sure, getting it ready, watching it for 3 days, and then bringing it as a korban, and all of these things, we can really get the hope of our history and the continuing survival and success of Am Yisrael. And please God, we should witness to see, just like we've seen the Geula, the redemption in Egypt, we should see the Geula from the current Golus that we're in, and the answering of all our prayers, Latova, for good. Thank you very much for listening. Wishing everybody a Chodesh Tov and Shabbat Shalom.